action, justice, kindness.
Oh, hey there, brave ones. Welcome back to the Brave Files podcast. I hope you enjoyed your summer and that you got to enjoy all of our summer break replay episodes. So many great, incredible stories that we've shared over the last couple of months. I personally spent the last couple of months resting, hanging out with my kiddos, and dreaming up big, exciting, wonderful things for my business, Vickery & Co., and for the Brave Files podcast. Be sure you're signed up for my newsletter to get all of the latest info, receive our weekly Brave Affirmation series, and hear about each new podcast episode as it drops. You can sign up right now by visiting vickeryandco.com/social. Okay, I'm super excited for this week's episode. How often do you meet a person who sees a problem and then actually creates a solution to it? Well, you're going to meet just such a person today. Kaitlin Johnstone is the co-founder of the incredible Kind Cotton clothing company. Kind Cotton was Kaitlin's response to wanting the world to recognize that kindness is not the same as niceness. Kindness has often been used to weaponize folks and to keep them in their quote-unquote place. For Kaitlin and her partner, kindness must be rooted in justice, grounded in action, and open to change. You're going to love this episode. You're going to love Kaitlin. I just adore her. And I have a whole wardrobe now of Kind clothing. I can say that again, Kind Cotton clothing. We're going to put links in the show notes so you can check all of their stuff out. But before we start the episode, I wanted to remind you, or maybe even let you know if you didn't realize, that I do a live weekly show called Brave in Action. Every single Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Central, I am live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. In each episode, I share one quick way that you can put your bravery into action. This show is honest, informative, inspirational, and sometimes hilarious. I can promise you it's always going to be the truth. It's always face-to-face, and I love, love, love this time together. It's anywhere from 15 to usually about 20 minutes worth of me sharing a new way to step out of fear and into your bravery. Again, you can catch me live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Find the links at vickeryandco.com/social. And I look forward to seeing you there. Oh, and one last thing. There's also one new thing I've implemented over the summer. If my work, podcasting, live shows, or anything else that I'm doing inspires and excites you, I have a new way for you to show your appreciation and support and say thank you. If you've been inspired by any of my free content, I'd be forever grateful if you'd consider saying thank you by buying me a coffee. In addition to my undying gratitude, everyone who, quote unquote, buys me a coffee will get a shout out via the newsletter or the podcast or maybe even the live show. So you got to be sure to tune in into all of those places so that you can hear me sing your praises. To say thank you, all you have to do is visit vickeryandco.com/say thanks. Anything that you're able to contribute makes a huge difference because putting this heartfelt, intentional content out takes a ton of time, a ton of resources, and a ton of money. And it's my pleasure and my privilege. But I am here for you expressing gratitude if that's something you feel called to do. All right, let's go meet Kaitlin. You're listening to The Brave Files, where we share stories from people who've stepped out of fear and into bravery in every possible way. What we know for sure is that when we choose bravely on purpose, we choose bigger, we win bigger, and it's contagious. It's our hope that these stories connect with you and encourage you to embrace bravery in every possible way, day after day. Together, we can build a movement that enriches both our lives and our communities. The Brave Files is brought to you by Vickery & Co., a success and leadership coaching firm dedicated to helping you build a life and a business that you are absolutely in love with. Vickery & Co. offers group programs, membership communities, one-on-one coaching, VIP days, corporate trainings, workshops, keynote speaking, and so much more. Visit vickeryandco.com to get all the details. Oh my gosh, you guys. This has been such a fun week for me because I have had the opportunity to interview two of my favorite people on TikTok. And today I have the privilege, the absolute honor and privilege of talking with Kaitlin Johnstone. She is amazing. The co-founder of, but you're the face of it. I know, we're going to get to it. The co-founder of Kind Cotton. You're always so good about making sure it says co-founder, even though I know you do all the work.
No.
She's over there. We're going to talk about Kaitlin's decision to leave her job as a teacher, for making a major move across country, what motivated her to do that. These things are super brave. And then she and her partner, Kevin, decided to create an inclusive clothing brand called Kind Cotton that's focused on redefining kindness and starting pivotal and powerful conversations around what it means to be kind. They believe in kindness and that it is rooted in justice, grounded in action, and open to change. And I love that last bit. Kind Cotton also has a special mission. They provide books to children with every sale. And with every item sold, they donate a book to a child. And I'm curious to know things like, how do you pick the book and where do they go? And we're going to find out all that stuff. But to date, they've donated over 52,000 books to kids. And Kaitlin, I am fangirling. I'm totally fangirling over you. We're just like having this intro chat. And I'm like, oh, it's Kaitlin.
Oh my goodness, please. I have never had anyone say that about me. So thank you. You're making me blush.
I love it. My friend, welcome to the Brave Files.
Thank you so much. I am just so grateful that we have connected. I often focus on like the dangers of social media and how I just get into doom scrolling and all of these things. But there's a really, really beautiful part of social media. And I'm just so grateful to be connected with like-minded, inspiring individuals such as yourself. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for saying yes to spending some time here with me and my listeners to talk about your brave story. And I just think it's beautiful. You guys can't see me, but I go all over social media. I'm repping my favorite sweatshirt right now, which was inspired, I think, by some anti-gay rhetoric and bills, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned it a little bit in the introduction, but we spent 8 years in Florida. My husband and I are originally from New York. And when I got my master's degree in education, we decided that we wanted a change of scenery. We were tired of the snow. I can remember the exact moment. It was actually Valentine's Day. I was supposed to get out and pick Kevin up something from the store for Valentine's Day last minute. And I could not get out of our apartment. So I was like, this is it. I am done. We need a change. So we moved to Florida. That is where I spent my entire education career. I taught there for 7.5 years. And as I'm sure many of you know, over the past couple of months, the governor of Florida put into law some pretty dangerous legislation. So in response to the Don't Say Gay bill, which is now law, we came out with our most popular item, which says love, empathy, inclusion, compassion, justice, and kindness, because we believe that those are words that should truly make up the definition of kindness. And we did it in rainbow colors. And in response to the Don't Say Gay bill, we are donating an LGBTQ plus youth book to children all across the country with every single purchase. So
I love that. All right. So let's go back because obviously
I just went.
No, you didn't. You're fine. No, that's great. And I totally led you right there when I mentioned my sweatshirt, which by the way, you guys, this is not a sponsored podcast episode. Kaitlin and her company have not sponsored. This is the softest freaking sweatshirt I have ever owned. So we might have to talk about that in a minute because I have a clothing line too. And I'm like, why is my shit not this soft? So anyway, all that to say, when did you start Kind Cotton? And did you leave teaching and then started, or was there an overlap? What'd that look like?
Yeah. So there was actually an overlap. I was teaching kindergarten in Sarasota, Florida, and I was often finding that a lot of my students didn't have access to books at home. Not only did they not have access to books at home, they couldn't bring library books home.
Why?
because our school at the time felt as though they would not get them back. So they would not allow them to bring them home.
That's racist, right? That was a racist
Oh
decision.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's absolutely horrible and
Yeah.
just completely that's a whole nother conversation that we could have as to how the education system is essentially set up to fail marginalized communities. But with that being said, I mean, this was something that I was outraged about at the time and was constantly giving my students books that they could have at home, spending a lot of my own money, which, that's what teachers
That's
do.
what teachers do.
Yeah, yeah. And I just wanted these children to have books where they felt seen and valued and to have access to books at home. So I came home to my husband and said, "Hey, I have this crazy idea. You work in custom apparel. I'm a teacher.
Oh,
I
that's
want to
nice.
start a yeah, yeah.
That helps.
So see, he does do a lot of the work. I want to start this clothing line that really kind of gets people thinking about what kindness is. And then in turn, I want to try and close the gap of children not having access to books in their homes or even in their schools, right? Because we know, dependent upon where you live, you may have less access to items that you need for a more equitable education." So he was like, "Yeah, I'm all in. Whatever it is that you want to do, like, let me know. I can start getting us samples. I can start making designs. We can talk about what it is that you want to see on these shirts." And we started in 2017. I was still teaching up until, goodness, I feel like we've been doing pandemic living so long now that I don't even know when that hit or when that started. But I left the classroom in September of 2020. So I went back for a little bit and I had my daughter at the time. I had Kind Cotton and I was a full-time educator in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic. So I said, if now is going to be the time that we decide to like really go full force and do Kind Cotton the way in which we really want to do Kind Cotton, maybe this is some sort of like blessing in disguise because I was not comfortable going back into the classroom at the time with no masks and high risk parents and a baby. So yeah, I made the leap to take this on full time. And back then we were probably donating maybe $50 a month. It was like enough to fund our reading program that we had started. And now we're probably donating upwards of $1,000 to $2,000 a month.
Which is incredible. Did you say you started a reading program?
Yeah. So my whole mission behind Kind Cotton was to not just donate a book to a child, but I wanted there to be a real impact behind it. So I was working with an after school program in Florida where I would attend twice a month and I would create these engaging or what I thought were awesome literacy activities with the kids. And every single child would get to leave with a copy of the book that I did my lesson on. And I was with those kids for 3 years. So,
Wow.
I mean, there were some of them that started in kindergarten through second grade. And, we developed wonderful, amazing relationships because it wasn't like within the constraints of all the things that you had to get in a day of school, right? Like it was something fun and exciting. And it was just wonderful. And I miss that so much. I'm hoping now that we are going to be able to bring that in-person piece back into Kind Cotton.
Okay, so I was going to ask if you were still doing that after school program. Sounds like that had to pause when you moved.
Yeah, so it has taken a pause. We've started working with some schools here in Maryland. We're now in Maryland, about 10 miles outside of DC. And we actually just donated, there was a school about 5 miles away from us that were really looking to make a more inclusive classroom library for all of their teachers. So we donated about 10 books per educator. So every educator at the school received 10 books from us. And then we also donated a book to every single child at the school. So that was the start of awesome relationship. And I'm hoping next school year, I'm going to be able to go there about once a month and do a literacy activity with them as well.
I love that. Okay, so we talked about your move. One thing that I think you did that's very brave, and you were very clear when you prefaced, this is a very privileged choice to be able to make. And I hear that and I see it. And I still think it's brave that your move. Can you share with everyone what motivated your move to Maryland?
Absolutely. So we had our first and only child in December of 2019. She's a Christmas Eve baby.
Aww.
And the start of her life was not easy. And I say that in that I know every mom's journey is not easy in the beginning. However, it was really hard. Like when I tell my friends that she was probably sleeping about 4 hours in a 24-hour time span.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. When newborns typically sleep about 19 hours a day, it was really hard. And then fast forward 3 months later, the world shut down. And that was kind of around the time where we were just easing back into, okay, maybe we can figure this out and things are going to be okay. And she started sleeping a little bit. So there was just a lot going on personally. Then fast forward to trying to navigate motherhood in a state that seemed to not take the pandemic seriously whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really hard. Then, Kind Cotton is definitely a representation of who we are and what we believe, and something that we have become extremely passionate about is being co-conspirators when it comes to social justice issues such as race and the LGBTQ plus community and just an array of things. So, and I was also an educator at the time. And our governor first put out the Stop Woke Act.
Just the name is so fucking ridiculous. Stop woke. Don't be aware.
There's so many things wrong with it. However, it essentially stops the teaching of accurate history, and many things were being pulled from textbooks and not being allowed to talk about the truth in our history because of the idea that white children may be felt, may say, sorry, may feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
that was really hard. And that was frustrating and feeling kind of like you were alone on an island of people who didn't agree with things that you really felt passionate about. And also, there are many amazing people in Florida. I don't want to say that, everyone in Florida is bad or what have you, because there are a lot of people trying to create a lot of change there. However, I was a mom and I had to start thinking about, are these schools that I want my child going to?
Yeah.
Do I ever want to go back to education in this state? And the very clear answer to that over the 2 years that we spent there while we had our daughter was no.
Yeah.
Then right as it was kind of the icing on the cake with the Don't Say Gay bill. I was like, this is a whole nother type of not only crazy, but harmful. Like this is really, really harmful when we look at the statistics of LGBTQ plus youth and attempted suicide or bullying or any of the things that are life altering and could be life ending. We know that there is a much higher risk. So essentially what you're doing with a bill like this is you are saying to people that they are not valued and they are not loved and that they are not seen and that something is wrong. So this was just something that I and my husband could not get behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were like, we got to get out of here. And then, sorry, now I'm just like going on and on and on about everything.
Go on and on and on. I invited you to do that.
Thank you. We also, a big part of our business is doing fundraisers with schools where they will get a portion of everything sold and we will customize everything for them. all messages of kindness and inclusion, what have you. We started a fundraiser with a local elementary school in the district that I used to teach in. And within one day of that being sent home to parents, there were parents up in arms saying that,
Wow.
how could you have a company like this do a fundraiser with us? All they're doing is indoctrinating youth. There is something wrong with this. This is not okay. They promote
Mm.
mask wearing and they are pro BLM and they are wanting to be groomers and all this just
The fuck
horrible
is wrong with
stuff.
people?
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. And these are people who've like showed up on the lawns of like people's houses. And for the first time, I felt kind of like not safe in a way.
Yeah.
And I went into our bedroom crying hysterically and was like, we need out of here. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
I can't be here anymore.
So you picked an area that was liberal leaning mostly. I mean, Maryland is a blue state. You said you picked a house sight unseen. Like you're like, oh, you got to go.
Yeah. So Oliver, I should also say that it was not an easy choice and that all of our family was in Florida too, for the most part.
Mm,
They had moved there to be near us. So there were a lot of things that were really
wow.
challenging, but ultimately it had to come down to what was best for our daughter and for our mental health,
Yeah.
which was taking a hit being there. So yeah, we started Googling like crazy. Where can we move to? And we found Montgomery County in Maryland, which is about like 10 miles outside of DC. We packed up our car. My mom watched our daughter for 3 days. We drove up here. We just drove around neighborhoods and we were like, oh, this is wonderful. This is amazing. Like it felt like an entire different universe. And as soon as we got back, I was connected with a realtor. We looked at a couple houses via Zoom in this crazy market. And we chose the house that I'm sitting in now. And our offer got accepted,
Wow.
which is unbelievable. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
I love that. And I think it's brave. And yes, there's a lot of privilege attached to it. But that decision to say, we don't, I mean, that's talk about practicing what you preach, putting your money where your mouth is, right? Listen, I have a lot of respect for the people who stay and fight. It's like I would never move to Texas or Florida. I just wouldn't. It wouldn't happen. Alabama, Arkansas, any of them. I'm not going. I get the people who are like, but if everyone leaves, then there's no one here to fight. And I understand that. But also, your money talks. And when you move out and you stop supporting things that are anti what you know to be good and right and true, it makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, that I second guess everything that I do. So that was something that hit really hard for me, right? Like, because we were very into campaigning against DeSantis when he initially ran and
You can still do
just,
that.
yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm like, my vote won't be there, but the messaging behind everything that we do and just kind of using our platform to speak out against the harmful legislation hopefully is doing something, right? Like, even if it reaches one person,
Yeah.
maybe it's doing something and I can continue to do those things, but protect my peace at the same time, which is something that had
Yeah.
to happen because
Yeah.
none of us are going to be good at anything if mentally we don't feel sound and at peace and
Yeah.
happy where we are.
You can't do the powerful, wonderful work you're here to do if you don't protect yourself and if you don't take care of yourself. So I'm glad that you made that choice and you can still campaign. I went to Florida and campaigned for Andrew Gillum. I loved him. I think he's amazing. He didn't win, although it was a good run. And so, those things, or make phone calls. We make phone calls for, Congress folks and senators in other states all the time. So there are lots of ways. And of course, your mission here with what you're doing. So let's talk about that. One of the things that I have found to be really incredible is how quickly you act bringing out a product in response to some ridiculous bullshit that some GOP person somewhere has done. How do you do that fast?
That's a really good question. Yeah, it's quick. We were challenged this last time. Being a former teacher, I am so connected within the Instagram community of teachers, and that really is what got our name out there. And unfortunately, with the tragedy that just happened in Texas, a bunch of my friends reached out and they started this incredible movement called Teachers for Change.
Mm.
And within 2 days of about maybe 50 of us sharing that we were going to start this fundraiser and we were going to collect money, half of it was going to go to the Robb School Memorial Fund, half of it was going to go to Everytown to demand more gun control. We raised over $110,000.
Wow.
So, yeah. So with that, I knew they were going to be like, Kaitlin, you need to put out a shirt. Like, we
Of course
have
they were.
March for Our Lives coming up and
Yeah.
you need to help us. You need to get a shirt, Teachers for Change. Like, what can we do? And this was the fastest we've ever done anything, but we got our blanks out to our printers within 24 hours. They then printed it within 24 hours for us, thankfully, because we have an amazing relationship with them. They are arriving today. My husband and I will be up all night packing hundreds of orders for them to get shipped out to people in time for the march. So yeah, I think it just comes down to being so incredibly passionate about what we do and needing people to understand, as you stated in the beginning, that kindness is not niceness, right? I never sit here and say, right? Yeah.
Wow, that's
It's
that's
not.
profound, actually.
Yeah, it's simple, but yet profound, because I will never say, I mean, I'm holding this coffee right now, right? My mom knows that we have been crazy busy and she bought me my favorite coffee today, and that lifted my spirits. I will never, ever say in a million years that random acts of kindness are not needed, because they are and they're important. However, when your kindness is completely either aloof to the inequities in this country, or your kindness stops at that and says we can agree to disagree when it comes to things such as racial justice or LGBTQ rights or gun violence, or the list goes on and on and on, then to me that is not kindness. And I think that is a very important message that needs to be heard. And I think that often is something that gets lost, right? And kindness is something that is so incredibly weaponized that we wanted to create something that truly redefines kindness. Because if we're going to be putting out books that are inclusive and diverse and cover, social justice topics, then the messaging that we need to be putting out to our customers has to mirror that.
Yes. Wow. I love that. I love redefining the word kindness. Kindness is not a word most people think needs to be redefined, but you said something so powerful. You said kindness is weaponized. And I'd love for you to explain what you mean by that. I know what I think you mean by that, but I want to hear it in your words. And also, kindness is used as a way to keep minorities. Oh, you better be nice. Oh, we don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. We don't want anybody to think, that we don't appreciate them or whatever. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I mean when I state that kindness is often weaponized. If you look back historically throughout time, kindness is something that has been used to almost further marginalize communities.
Yes.
So don't step out of line. Just be kind. Just follow what the quote unquote rules are, even if they are unjust and unfair. Be kind, right? Women, so often when they speak up, especially women of color, they get painted in a light that is the angry Black woman or something, regardless of what happened
Yeah.
prior to elicit a
Yes.
passionate response, right? So it's just
Mm.
kindness needs to be more. So yeah, it is something that I think absolutely has to be redefined. We don't need more fake kindness. We don't need more niceness. We don't need more fall into the status quo. We need more people who are going to truly be kind and stand up for others and advocate for others and truly be there for others in a way that needs to happen, not in a way that further takes away the rights of others. Because, and when I say we, like
Right.
I'm about to preface this with we, I mean like we, as in particularly straight, white, cis women and men.
Yeah. Well, and white liberal women play such a huge role in this, and we it's important to own all of our responsibility in that for sure. So if you could define kindness as you desire seeing it portrayed in the world, what would it be?
I mean, I think it's exactly what you said in the beginning. We have always said that kindness needs to be rooted in justice, grounded in action, and open to change. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we don't live in a world where we see a lot of justice. So, I think it's continuing to use your voice or your platform, no matter how big or small that is, to call out inequities, to
Mhm.
talk to
Mhm.
your racist Uncle Joe at the dinner table about why his comments are not okay and how that further allows people to
Yeah.
take things farther than like a joke. I think it needs to be grounded in action in that you can post a black square in solidarity with the Black community after the murder of George Floyd, but all that is performative allyship. So, what are you doing further than that? Who are you calling? What school board meetings are you attending? Who are you voting for? Right? Like, I often discuss, well, I mean, if you say that you really care about all these issues, you can't continue to support the GOP.
Clearly.
Life is political. Uh, it is about politics,
Yeah.
right? That's where we are right now in this country. Everything is political. So,
Yeah. Which fucking sucks, but it is what it is.
yeah, I know, but it is, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then I think that open to change piece is really, really important because we will always be growing. And I think allowing yourself to recognize when you do wrong and accepting that and owning it and then making changes is so important instead of becoming like so fragile and defensive
Yeah.
is what needs to happen, right? That's how you're going to redefine kindness. And that's how we're going to work together to create a more loving, inclusive world.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. What would you say has been the biggest struggle?
My goodness.
There's no wrong answer, so don't feel like it's profound or anything.
Yeah, no, the biggest struggle right now it's getting orders out. Oh my goodness. However, that is not what it is. Uh
Well, it's because your shit blew up.
yeah, and TikTok, which is crazy. I posted one TikTok that got a lot of attention.
When was that viral moment for you?
Mm, Probably about a month and a half ago now.
I can't believe that's it. Because I see you everywhere.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I mean, nothing else ever has. It's not like we got a ton of followers from it. Like, we're pretty small in that space. But I think that's the beauty of TikTok is that that video keeps getting pushed out to people. So, like, you get more and more new customers who know what you're doing and what your intentions are. And that's really cool. Like, Instagram is pretty much that's my world. And that's pretty much like people see it and it's done. Like, I
Yes.
don't know. I see things from months ago on TikTok, which is really pretty cool. But that may be my hardest thing too is dealing with like the trolls. And I always
Mm.
and
Block,
trolls I
baby,
want to
block.
Yeah, that's what. So this is a difficult thing too, because I always want to be very clear in that when I am speaking out about certain things that I speak out about as a white woman, I don't need a thank you. I always say, I don't need a thank you for being a decent human being. It's what everyone
Yeah.
should be doing. And then I feel as though we need to have those conversations. Like it's our duty to kind of correct that misinformation and that way of thinking instead of just blocking and deleting. However, there are some where it comes a point that you're never changing this person's mind. So, for again, protecting your
Yep.
own peace, you do need to block and delete. And I have gotten better about that. Sometimes, even in your personal life, which
Yeah.
is hard.
How do you maintain any sort of inner balance and self-care? While, and I say that knowing that I put balance in quotes. Obviously, you have a small child, you have this thriving business that which you have to do a lot of face forward facing marketing for to make it successful. You have a life, you have a partner, but you cannot do that if you don't care for yourself a little bit. How do you do that?
Yeah, so that's super important. I have not since we've been in Maryland, but
Mm,
in Florida, I decided that in order to do that, I thought it was really important to look into therapy,
mhm,
which is something,
mhm.
again, is a very privileged thing to be able to do. I think it's something that everyone should have access to. And unfortunately, that is not the case. But for me, I grew up in a family where my father really struggled with his mental health. He was diagnosed
Mm,
bipolar when I was 16. And I think I don't want to say that there weren't any resources at the time to help a young adolescent go through that, but I didn't really have those resources. So I don't think I ever really unpacked all of that, as well as wanting to make sure that
yeah.
something like that never happened to me. And I just have a very different approach. I don't want to be reactive when it comes to my mental health. I want to be proactive. So I think that therapy was something that was really important. It
Mhm.
gave me coping skills that I still use to this day. I think that definitely carving out time is so important. So every morning, for the most part, I will start my day off. The first like 45 minutes of the day is for me to work out and or meditate. And then I start my day with my daughter. That first like 45 minutes to hour is the time that my husband has with her before he goes to work. He is still at a 9 to 5. Like we are doing all of this too,
Yeah.
and he still has his 9 to 5. So it's a lot,
Yeah.
right? And then finding time for each other and finding time as a family. We're getting to the point now where there are some major, major changes that need to happen.
Yeah, you might need to hire someone.
Yeah.
That's what I do for a living is I tell entrepreneurs to get help, and then I help them figure out how to get help.
Yeah, I know. So we need to have like a whole nother separate conversation because by the time this comes out, my partner will have quit his job.
Shut up. Is Kind Cotton retiring him?
Yeah,
Like, you're gonna be able to do this?
yeah, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
We've always said that we wanted it to be the two of us full time prior to hiring anyone. But now we're kind of seeing like, I mean, we pack every single order on our own. I ship every single book out on my own. I answer like,
Yeah,
there are just so many things that go into having a business. And our business isn't just like shipping a product out. There's so many other
there's a
things
lot.
that
There's a lot.
go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're thinking that we need to also hire someone too. So we've been looking into what that's going to entail.
Well, if you ever wanna talk, I'm happy to connect, see if there's a way to help you because I
Yeah.
so want to see you continue to thrive, and I will say this, I am a customer, I said that in the beginning, I'm wearing my which now that it's really hot in this room, and a really warm sweatshirt, which isn't that thick, so I'm not trying to say anything bad about my favorite sweatshirt, but your customer service, your follow-up, your text messages, your email, like, it's really sharp. It's really, really on point, and partnering that with your reactionary, like, how quickly you bring out new product, you do specials of the month, and everything is relevant and everything has a purpose and everything is to bring awareness. And it's so thoughtful and intentional. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to start some sort of business, whether it's a side hustle like you started, or they want to just go all in and have some sort of socially conscious, active ally business? What would you say to those folks?
So for me, I think it was just because I was so passionate about this that I didn't want us to just be a company that put out a shirt because it was cute or a shirt that didn't have
Yeah.
meaning. So from the beginning, every single thing that we have put out, I have written about and I've kind of given our customers a backstory as to why it was so important. And I think a lot of the times it resonated with people and they looked forward to seeing the blog that was coming about the next release that we were doing and why was this so important. And I think that's why so many of the things that we focus on have such
Yeah.
deep meaning to it, or it is something that is an issue that is happening currently, because it's just essentially myself and my husband being like, "Oh my goodness, what is happening? How can we put our message out there? How can we be heard? How can we help?" So
Yeah.
oftentimes we will also send like action steps
I love it.
as to what you can do. Um, so we're not just providing a book that is related to this issue, but if you're not
Mm,
purchasing or you can't donate, here are some other things that you can do. You know, we'll give you the step by step call script to contact your senators. We will give you email templates to write to people. So we're always trying to find ways where you don't just have to donate or you don't just have to buy a shirt or, you know, you don't have to put money towards something. So I think
yes.
building
Yeah.
a brand or building a company, where people feel connected and feel a part of a community is really, really important. Like that sweatshirt that you're wearing, that design originally came about by me engaging all of our customers in what does kindness mean to you? And we ran like a contest and we got all these different one word definitions. And then everyone
Yeah.
voted upon their
Well,
top five, which is how we came up with that shirt. And it is no wonder why that shirt is by far, I mean, that's the reason we are who we are, is because of those words.
and then you released it, and then after the Don't Say Gay bill, you re-released it in the version I have, which is
Yeah.
in the rainbow, which is really fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's building a community and building something that is where people feel that they have a voice and a part of it too. And then it's
Mm,
also building something that matters, right? Something
yeah.
that people can be a part of where they don't just have to buy something from you, right? Like we have plenty of people who supported us in other ways and really just look forward to the messaging that we put out or calls to action that we put out.
Yeah.
And that's great too, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just
Well, eventually it all comes around. Either they'll become customers or they'll inspire someone else to become customers, which then raises more awareness. It's just one big beautiful circle.
mhm, yeah, which is
Yeah.
cool.
I love that. Well, there's so much to celebrate in that. And, sometimes folks say to me, "Well, we can't celebrate right now. We can't be great. We can't have gratitude right now because there's so much shit everywhere." And I like
Mm,
to remind folks that we have to celebrate. We have to be grateful and express gratitude. That doesn't make you a privileged ass. It makes you aware and it keeps you healthy and functioning and inspired and all of those things. So, how do you like to celebrate all of the wonderful successes you've had?
yeah, I love that you prefaced it with that because I need to get myself out of that rut. And I think by talking to followers about how we need to celebrate like the simple joys and just recognizing that the world may feel very, very, very heavy right now, but there are other people out there pushing for the same change that you are. And I feel like that
Yeah.
brings me such joy. So any time where I'm like down a deep dark hole of just seeing all terrible news, I have to remind myself of that And celebrating sometimes for me, maybe something as simple as going on a walk outside with my daughter and having her recognize, oh, mama, it's so beautiful out today,
I
and
love that. Yeah.
just being in the present and putting my phone down, because I think that there are so many beautiful things that come from it. But I also think oftentimes we're missing what's in the present and reminding myself, wow, like things are good, things are okay. We have a lot to be grateful for. We are healthy, we are together, we are in a beautiful space. It sounds so cliche, but like, there's
Oh,
food on the table, the whole
yeah.
nine, like our basic necessities are met. Let's sit back and just kind of enjoy the simplicities in life, which is something that I've really had to focus on the past 2.5 years too, because we have been
Hmm.
very, very, very serious about the pandemic. So I think it's kind of forced me into recognizing that there is a lot of beauty just in simple moments.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it so much. Thank you for sharing that. Kaitlin, what is this is probably a hard one for you to pin down, although maybe this week it's easier. What is your favorite charitable organization to support?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is a really hard one. Oh my goodness, that's so difficult. As sad as it is to say, within the past 3 weeks, we've made some pretty big contributions to Planned Parenthood, Everytown, and Rob School Memorial Fund. It's like we just keep getting hit with things. So yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
we're talking about right at the moment, I think we absolutely have to be giving to organizations such as Sandy Hook Promise and Everytown and the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, because something has to change.
it has to.
So, oh, and the Trevor Project is amazing
Yeah.
too. I mean, we
Yeah.
can't forget that like it's June, right? And we're celebrating Pride Month. And
Yes, it is Pride Month as we're recording. But you're so good about that. Well, we are I think what we're going to do, because normally whatever charity becomes our charity of the week. So what we're going to do, decided right on the spot, because I can. I love that. I always say to people all the time, because I'm the boss and I can do what I want. They go,
yes,
we will just list all of the different gun reform charities, or all of those, so that we can spread some of that love, and they'll be the charity of the week and our charities of the week. And listeners, I know you all are in tune with this, but whatever you can do, whatever you can share, even if it's awareness, even if it's going to their sites and finding ways where you can put your allyship in action, where you can show up, all of those things that Kaitlin's been sharing. And my best guess is there's probably somewhere on the Kind Cotton website that directs people to make a difference. Is that correct?
yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned before, we put out a blog with every shirt that we do. So along with those blogs, we typically have a lot of calls for action. Or if you are subscribed to our email, then a lot of the times we will send out emails in ways that you can help, dependent upon what the most recent craziness is.
No,
I
right?
know.
Well, tell folks how they can find you.
Yeah. So we are on Instagram, it's Kind Cotton. On TikTok, it is Kind Cotton. On Facebook, which we're not as active on, it's Kind Cotton Clothing. And our website is kindcotton.com.
Y'all really want to go and check it out. Not only, as you've just heard, is the mission of this wonderful company amazing, beautiful, they're comfortable, they're so well made. And again, this is not a promoted episode. I want to be really clear. I'm just a fan. I'm just a super fan. And so thrilled and honored and excited that I had the opportunity to meet you. And now we can be friends. It's just beautiful. I love it.
I love that. I know. I'm so, so excited too. I should say, when we were looking at places to move, Chicago was like pretty
Oh,
high
man,
on
you
the
should have
list
come
too.
here.
I know. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite places in the US. So
We'll have to come and we can
we
hang
will
out.
definitely back. Yes, yes. And I'm just so
We can rep
grateful.
our kind cotton wear.
Yeah, yeah. That's my biggest thing. I get stories of people who are like, oh my goodness, I ran into someone in the airport and they had on a Kind Cotton shirt and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I will That will be my dream. The day I
I love it.
go into public and see someone wearing one of our items, I'm gonna be so excited. So
Okay, you've declared it, and now the universe will provide. That's the way that works. I love it.
yeah,
Kaitlin, will you share your 3 words with us one last time?
absolutely. It is justice, action, kindness.
Thank you so much for being here, spending your time with me. I know you are a busy lady, so I'm honored and super grateful.
Thank you. We are so, so grateful that you had us on. I appreciate it.
Yay. All right, folks, do it, do it, do it, do it. Go check out Kind Cotton. Follow it. Also, come hang out with me on TikTok because I'm fun. We're fun over there. I'm Brave Heather. You can follow the Brave Files podcast on Instagram, and I want to know what you think of the show. So the best way to do that is just send me a DM directly through Instagram at the Brave Files podcast. And I want to hear if you have been touched or motivated, inspired, using bravely, all of that fun, wonderful stuff. This is Heather Vickery reminding you today and every single day to go out and choose bravely. We'll talk to you next week. Bye. You've been listening to The Brave Files, stories of people living courageously. Visit us at thebravefilespodcast.com to learn more about the show, find our show notes, and access full episode transcripts. And we'd love to know what you think of the show. We invite you to connect with us via Instagram and send a DM. You'll find us at The Brave Files Podcast on Instagram. Our music was created and produced in a custom collaboration with Matt Lewis from ML Creative Consulting, a boutique firm dedicated to helping clients identify their unique sound and amplify their brand with custom-delivered soundtracks. Special thanks to everyone on Team Brave, from our audio engineer to our producers, associate producers, copy editors, writers, and support team. The show wouldn't exist without them, and we are eternally grateful. I'm your host and executive producer, Heather Vickery. Thanks for tuning in.